The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Santiago Peña Palacios, President of the Republic of Paraguay. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
Señor Presidente de la Asamblea.
President of the General Assembly, distinguished heads of state and government, distinguished ministers of foreign affairs, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a troubled, volatile world which is experiencing extremely difficult, unprecedented days and tremendous challenges, armed conflicts, tensions in every corner of the globe, crises of multilateral institutions and of the international system, attacks on the values of democracy by the twin threats of populism and authoritarianism, the risks of cyber security and the misuse of artificial intelligence, brutal inequity in the distribution of wealth, climate change, which is jeopardizing our very existence. These are just some of the immense problems that we face. I'm therefore afraid that I'm not here today to give a heartwarming speech, rather one that might generate discomfort and concern in light of what is happening. I think that we need to be sincere and admit that we are all failing to build a better world. Because if there is a right time and place to debate and propose crucial decisions that will change the direction of mankind, it's here, the United Nations General Assembly. And due to the delicate juncture in which we're living, we are forced to do that. The good news is that not all is lost, because as a great military hero and then a statistician of my country said, his name was Bernardino Caballero, he said, the future is the child of the president. This means that we can have a better future if we act today and here. Even with disappointments, we can beat down many spirits. We can contemplate the bright horizons of the future, but always and when, as Caballero added, when we are worthy of respect and the estimation of future generations. This is only if we are worthy of taking up the lofty roles that we have. Rather than hiding problems under the carpet, we attack them clearly, firmly, and bravely. Despite the hard reality that we face, I continue to be optimistic. I don't fear the future, because I trust in the capacity of mankind to overcome challenges. But it is imperative, I think even obligatory, to abolish the issues in multilateralism and push through changes such as abolishing the veto in the UN Security Council. We need to build frameworks that promote equitable and sustainable development in which all countries, regardless of their size or their power, can benefit equally from global progress. Only in this way we will be able to meet the promises represented by this forum and make us worthy of the respect and esteem of future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, the maintenance of peace should be the fundamental pillar of multilateralism. However, today's reality shows a sad outlook. Around 20 international armed conflict and more than 110 domestic armed conflicts are active around the world. This shows us that the institutions that were established to preserve peace have not been able to meet their aims. War continues to be a scourge that is scattered across humanity. This scourge tears the social fabric, annihilating communities and leaving a legacy of suffering that is incalculable in scale. Every lost life is a testimony to our collective failure to meet the most basic of our responsibilities, which is to preserve peace and protect human dignity. My nation's history is a living testimony to the cruelty and immense suffering of wars. With the War of the Triple Alliance, Paraguay experienced this extermination, which sadly caused 3 of the genocides of the 20th century. As another great Paraguayan, Manuel Gondra, said, Paraguay is a small but proud country, and that's the only reason we were able to survive this cruel war. However, it is also a country that knows the price to pay knows that the price that can be paid through a conflict is very large. For this reason, Paraguay best understands that not only the calamity of war, but also what it means for a small country to be invaded or attacked by more powerful powers. That's why we express our most sincere solidarity with the victims of all armed conflicts, be they domestic or international in nature. We reaffirm our steadfast, decisive commitment to the peaceful settlement of disputes, and we advocate without exception for the non-use of force as a means of resolving disagreements between nations and peoples. In this context, we reiterate our firm support for Ukraine, respecting their sovereignty and territorial integrity. We underscore the urgent need to find diplomatic solutions that lead to fair, comprehensive, lasting peace with the aim of bringing an end to this conflict and ensuring stability in the region. Just as in the case of Ukraine, we believe that conflicts must be resolved through dialogue and diplomacy, always through a quest for solutions that respect the fundamental rights of all involved parties. This belief also guides our position on the increasing crisis in the Middle East. Our relations with the State of Israel are underpinned by solid pillars such as faith and hope. This is why Paraguay was one of the countries which has stood most firm alongside Israel since the gross, heinous terrorist attacks of Hamas on the 7th of October 2023. Paraguay today reaffirms its recognition of the legitimate right of Israel to defend itself. We also reject any attempt to assign in a biased manner responsibility between the democratically elected authorities of Israel and the leaders of the terrorist group Hamas. At the same time, we issue an urgent appeal for the implementation of a solution that alleviates the humanitarian situation, brings an end to the violence, and guarantees the immediate release of the hostages, promoting constructive dialogue which would lead to lasting peace. We must continue to speak up about our deep-rooted concern at the situation in Africa. Here, UNHCR estimates that there are currently around 25 active conflicts, some long-standing and others emerging, but all with devastating consequences for the lives and the futures of the inhabitants of that continent. We aspire to see a return to peace and stability in that region. Enough violence, enough wars, but also enough mere words. As actors on the international stage, we must take firm and effective action. Today, I would also like to, as an aside, mention the hard situation in Haiti. This is a clear example of the shortcomings of multilateralism. Despite international efforts and interventions, attempts for global cooperation haven't led to peace, governance, and sustainable security that the Haitian people so needs and warrants. Today, gangs control a large part of Port-au-Prince, submerging the country into a spiral of violence that multilateral mechanisms have not been able to de-escalate effectively. Added to this situation, we see a catastrophic humanitarian reality. More than 5 million Haitians are suffering from food insecurity, and we see the re-emergence of illnesses such as cholera. Although multiple promises of aid have been made, the lack of financial resources and logistical difficulties have stopped humanitarian assistance arriving in a timely and opportune manner. There is a worrisome dissonance between what the international community promises and what really happens on the ground. We will stand alongside the Haitian people in every step towards helping this brother country. My country, as many other countries have done here, have passed through authoritarianism and dictatorships. For this reason, today Paraguayans value the ideals of democracy and the rule of law more than ever. Paraguayans can talk with their own experience. Our country lived through the shadow of dictatorship, banishment, and exile for a long time. Today, however, our reality is different. Paraguay is reaffirming its democratic vocation through free elections, transparent elections, and it has done for more than 3 decades. Never before have we had so many years of democracy, and I'm pleased to be able to say against the doomsayers and pessimists that we have seen the happiest lives in my homeland. Perhaps Paraguayans don't agree on everything, but we can agree that there are no better ways to live together than through democracy and the rule of law. Democracy is simply negotiable. For this reason, I must condemn today, loudly and strongly, what is happening to our Venezuelan brothers. I would like to reiterate Paraguay's position as to the electoral process in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which culminated on the 28th of July this year. This process overlooked the will of the Venezuelan people and was characterized by serious acts by the regime, which led to persecution of the main opposition actors and to arbitrary detentions. The deterioration of democracy in Venezuela is clear to see, such as are the systematic violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Added to that, we see action contrary to international law, particularly in diplomatic relations and the right to asylum. We reiterate our support for the democratic forces in Venezuela that are fighting authoritarianism for the return to a truly democratic system that is not merely a facade. One of the most important criticisms of global multilateralism is the idea one of the most important ideas behind multilateralism is the idea that all are treated on an equal footing. The concept of a vote for each nation often becomes a vacuous concept if nations are not obliged to transact their self-determination in order to not be left out of great international markets. However, we recognise that regional cooperation continues to be a crucial path towards physical and economic integration. The fight against the challenges that we face is impossible without convergence of wills from neighbouring countries. Regional cooperation is the only way that we are able to work together to design national policies together with other nations. And it is through this spirit of cooperation and strengthening regional institutions that Paraguay decided to put forward the candidacy of our Foreign Minister, Ruben Ramirez Lescano, as Secretary General of the Organization of American States. We're convinced that his leadership will contribute significantly to revitalizing the OAS, promoting more inclusive and efficient multilateralism that meets the challenges of the present and focuses on the well-being of all peoples in our hemisphere. In the context of our commitment to the most inclusive form of multilateralism that leaves no nation behind, Paraguay reiterates its unwavering commitment towards those countries that, despite their outstanding contribution, are excluded from important international fora such as these. Paraguay not only recognizes but also profoundly values international cooperation with the Republic of China, Taiwan. This is a kindred nation with which we have for now more than 70 years forged robust and meaningful friendship. This friendship is based on the shared values of democracy, the rule of law, and free trade. It's a genuine friendship forged through the adversity of two geographically small countries living alongside great powers. Our combative spirit, however, is everything but small. In this assembly, we renew our firm support for Taiwan to be a full part of the United Nations. We believe that their exclusion is an injustice that we can't overlook, because the values that we share and their contribution to the international community should be recognized. If there is a country that today should be a part of the United Nations and is not yet so, that is Taiwan. Today, we've not only come to speak up about this injustice, but also to speak up firmly to alert the international community as to the threat to their integrity and the legitimate rights of self-determination of their peoples. I underscore the importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. In a world full of tensions in which conflicts constantly threaten to boil over, positive interactions in this region are not only vital for the Asian security, but also for global stability. For the same reasons, we uphold the principles of peace, justice, and international cooperation in all corners of the world, and it's important that we reaffirm our commitment to these values within our borders. In my country, as I was saying earlier, we have a vibrant and full democracy. We have a republican system that balance of powers, and while we have a political majority in the Congress, we continue to have dialogue with our opposition to carry out the great reforms that our country needs. We're convinced that democracy cannot be a vacuum. It should have content and, above all, results. Here, economic development is crucial to ensure the future strength of democracy. Prosperity, indeed, is the biggest enemy of crime, of division, of a lack of hope. Social policy, the most effective of social policy, I always say, is economic prosperity. But to ensure that this prosperity reaches everyone, we need to invest in human capital and generate the right conditions for families to be able to work. And here I'd like to cite two of the programs of my government. Firstly, Zero Hunger in Schools. This aims to completely eradicate hunger in school-aged children, because we believe that children who are hungry cannot learn. And we also have the Che Roga Pora program, which is the first policy giving access to housing focused on the working class. It will allow thousands of Paraguayan families to transform a monthly income into a monthly payment into a family asset. If we don't have development, we have no security. This is a national level view and an international one, and we understand the cooperation with different national and international agencies. This is our vision as the President of the Republic. Finally, we will continue to support institutions and transparency as fundamental preconditions for development. The recent obtention of investment grade by Paraguay is a clear reflection of our constant efforts to strengthen our institutions. Added to that, we have a long-standing economic stability that has been consolidated over the years. Dear friends, Paraguay wants to, can, and will be a true protagonist on the global stage. We are determined to play our role. Paraguay is a country that has abundant natural resources, valuable human capital, and has a clear approach in creating value chains that promote the green economy based on the development of sustainable technology. Our country is a beacon in the production of clean and renewable energy. Hydroelectric energy generation is not only a national project, but rather a joint initiative with our neighbours, which seeks to ensure a more developed, sustainable and emissions-free world. I firmly believe that Paraguay is an example of how economic development is entirely compatible with environmental sustainability. Paraguay shares common challenges with other landlocked countries, which will be addressed in the new Programme of Action for Landlocked Developing Countries, which will be adopted in Botswana this December. Far from giving up hope, we see in these challenges great opportunity. We are transforming our difficulties into strength, harnessing our geographic location as a strategic asset. Our position in the heart of South America means that we can be the motor of South American integration. We have a clear vision, and we are becoming a logistics center through the hydro corridor Paraguay-Paraná and the bioceanic corridor in the South America. These are key to revitalizing and boosting Mercosur and the Pacific Alliance. As we consolidate our geographic position, it is crucial that this vision of growth is supported by strong investment in education. Paraguay's success will depend on our ability to prepare future generations for the globalized and competitive world. Together with education, technology is a key tool to ensure development and social inclusion. Our nations face many challenges, but without doubt, one of the greatest is the issue of the ethical use of artificial intelligence and the progress in technology in general. Morsley posits exponential growth in the development of new technologies. This calls for the creation of new regulatory schemes that protect people, able to face challenges that are approaching at all too fast a pace. These new techniques, such as sandboxes or co-regulation, should ultimately aim at ensuring responsible use of emerging technologies and equity in how they are applied. In Paraguay, we are profoundly committed to preserving our cultural heritage. At the end of this year, we will be hosting the 19th session of the Intergovernmental Committee for Safeguarding Cultural Heritage of UNESCO, and we hope that Guarania will be recognized as immaterial cultural heritage. Further, we reaffirm our commitment to the protection of fundamental rights of all citizens, the family and human life from conception. We defend the traditional values that have made our nation so great. Despite having looked at things critically, I would like to confess that I am an incurable optimist. I believe that our future is brilliant and full of opportunities, hence why I see the bright horizons on the future. But if we fight for a better present, we will have future days full of light and possibilities. The defense of democratic values and respect for human rights must continue to be our guide. Of course, we will have differences and legitimate policy differences, but there are some principles that cannot be negotiated. That is democracy, the rule of law, unfettered respect for human rights. These are all fundamental pillars. Although our political or ideological views might be different, this shouldn't divide us or stop us from advancing towards building cooperation based on solid foundations. If we continue to forge ahead towards cooperation, mutual respect, integration, fraternity among our peoples, I'm convinced that we will have better days. In conclusion, and despite the tremendous challenges that we face, I'm convinced that, as William Faulkner once said, humanity will not simply endure, it will prevail. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Paraguay.